Hello, and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. In today's video, we'll be discussing the history of the halfpenny coin. So, this story begins in medieval times. Let's have a look at a halfpenny. Well, the coin we see here is a penny, as there were no halfpennies minted. But notice on the reverse of the penny, there is a cross. If you cut the penny in half along there, you make a halfpenny, and if you cut the halfpenny in half, you make a farthing. So halfpennies from the very early days were literally half pennies, as they were semicircles, half of pennies that people had cut off. However, there was a problem with this method, and here it can be seen. Notice the left and right both look like valid halfpennies. However, the middle has been taken out, meaning people could get the same value from their penny with two halfpennies, but keep a bit of silver for themselves, thus profiting off the government minted coins, and this could not be allowed. So, the problem was fixed in the recoinage of 1272 under King Edward I. He did this by introducing a halfpenny, and here it is. It bears the exact same design as the penny, however, this time if you cut a halfpenny in half along the line, you make a farthing, and by cutting the farthing in half, you make a half-farthing coin. So another new denomination was introduced as well as the halfpenny by default. So, this method was all running smoothly for the next few hundred years. Here we see a halfpenny from the reign of Elizabeth I. As the design may indicate, these coins were no longer meant to be halved or quartered, as a problem has arisen due to the price of silver rising, meaning the coins needed to be smaller. In fact, when the last coins were minted, like the Charles I one, they weighed 0.23 grams and were only 9.7 millimeters across, absolutely tiny and often lost. So, Charles II fixed the problem, and here you can see the first copper halfpenny featuring his portrait. On the reverse we see the date 1673, and these coins were now much bigger with 29mm diameters and 11.3 gram weights, meaning these coins would no longer be lost very easily, such as the tiny halfpennies made of silver. However, another change of metal was soon coming, as a copper shortage swept the nation, meaning that the halfpennies of James I had to be made out of tin. Luckily though, soon after, in the reign of Queen Anne, copper was found in its plenty and halfpennies could go back to being copper. In the reign of George I, they were downsized to 5.4 grams and 20mm wide and featured a new design of Britannia on the reverse. And here it is again on the halfpennies of George II, and here we see his portrait on the obverse of the copper halfpennies. Next up is the reign of George III, and during the first part of his reign, the halfpenny had the same design, same size and same weight as the previous ones, only changing was the portrait on the obverse for the new king. However, in 1799, this coin was introduced. At 30mm diameter and 12.6 grams, the coin had actually got bigger. The design had also become more precise and detailed with modern minting methods. That design was only struck in 1799, and the one you see on screen now was minted from 1806 to the end of the reign of George III, keeping the same weight and diameter. Now, here is a halfpenny from the reign of George IV, who took the throne in 1820. The biggest design change we see on the left, is the reverse. Britannia is now a completely different design to the usual one, and Britannia is facing the other way to all previous Britannia designs on coins. From 1799 onwards, a trident was featured in Britannia's hands. The design from the George IV one is the same on the William IV one, apart from the obverse of course, where there's a new portrait for a new monarch. This design was done by William Wyon and features a right-facing portrait of the king. Next up is Queen Victoria. Facing left, her portrait was also designed by William Wyon, and up until 1860, the reverse for the halfpennies of her time was just the same from George IV. But things all changed in the recoinage of 1860. First of all, there was a new portrait, this time by Leonard Charles Wyon, the son of William Wyon, and features Victoria with a lot more of her neck and upper body showing on a coin. On the reverse, we see a new design, also by Leonard Charles Wyon, having his work featured on both sides of the coin. We see Britannia on the shield, holding a trident, as usual but a different design. A lighthouse and boat can be seen behind her. The coin weighs 5.67 grams and has a diameter of 25mm. Whilst technically made out of bronze, the coin is still 95% copper. Now for the reign of Edward VII, the design stayed the same, however the boat and the lighthouse were removed from behind Britannia. And of course another big change for the obverse, as the monarch changed to Edward VII. Here we see his portrait, facing to the right, designed by George William de Soules. The coin also features a much longer obverse legend. Here we have a halfpenny from the reign of George V. The reverse design is the same, with the boat and the lighthouse still not there. However, of course the obverse is changed, now featuring a left-facing portrait of King George V by Bertram Mackennal. However, there is something to look out for. This is the second design, also by Bertram Mackennal. In fact, it's the same design, but it's just a smaller head on the coin. That's a Type 1 and Type 2 obverse for George V halfpennies. Next up was George VI, also facing left. The reasoning was, if Edward VIII had taken his place as monarch for longer, he would have been facing right, so George VI should then be facing left to keep the continuity, although no coins were made for him. Now, in 1937, the biggest change for the halfpennies was this. This is a new design. Designed by Humphrey Paget, we see Sir Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind, taking centre stage on the design, with a date at the bottom and the words halfpenny at the top. Now this design lasted all the way until 1967, when the last of these halfpennies were minted for circulation. There are, however, two more types to look out for. This is a Type 1 Elizabeth II pre-decimal halfpenny, featuring the words Brit Om. Now this is the Type 2, where it's the same portrait by Mary Gillick, but the words Brit Om have been removed from the obverse design. And then came decimalisation in 1971. Decimalisation was the death of many denominations of coin, but would the halfpenny survive? Indeed it would, with the first decimal halfpenny being issued in 1971. It doesn't say halfpenny, it says new penny, as all coins did, as they were the new money of the time. Now, these coins were once again shrinking, as it only weighed 1.78 grams and had a diameter of 17.14 millimeters. These coins also featured the second portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. There is, however, another variant of this coin. As you can see here, this one says halfpenny rather than new penny. This was only minted on the 1983 halfpenny coins, but 1983 was the last year these halfpennies were made, meaning 1983 is where the halfpenny dies. Comment below your favourite era of halfpenny that we've seen today. Please do subscribe to the channel, and we thank you very much for watching the video, and we hope to see you again for another one. Bye!